and we will fit them in when we have time and they make sense in the course.
Right. So I'm gonna set up Stellarium here just to show the Messiers, and we'll switch horses.
We're ready for Messier Minutes?
Yeah. All right.
So this, we talked to, while he's setting up, we did go over some. So as I said, M1 and M42 and M43 are ones that are in our list to view. So we'll go into the ones that we didn't focus as much on in the actual talk about nebula or nebulae. Ready to go?
Yeah. So one of the challenges around completing the Messier certificate program is to, plan ahead and figure out what's available on a particular night. Figure out whether you need moonless or whether you can tolerate a bit of moon, and also, maybe be efficient about it as you could for this week. So what I'm driving at is that at this time of the year, we're about to head into the time of year where the sunset starts arriving later, faster. Already it's, I think, 2 minutes a day sunset delayed. So a month from now, it's going to be getting dark much later. And so we lose the winter targets rather quickly. But there's a chance this week with the moonless skies to actually get a jump on some of the autumn Messier targets that otherwise you'd have to wait till, say, midnight at the end of August to get to see them. So you can get them this week if you wanted to grab them this week. So we're kind of front load our Messier Minutes segment here with some red alert that you can get some of these Messier objects from the autumn if you get out there and right after dark. So by the time you get to around,
for you too.
yeah, by the time you get to around 7:30 p.m., we're going to get beyond astronomical twilight. The sky will be getting plenty dark. And the autumn targets are starting to descend in the western sky. So here's 7 p.m. this evening from the latitude of Toronto. And it'll vary a little bit across the country where you are in your latitude. But there's the Z where the zenith is. You can see that Messier 77, Messier 74, Messier 33, and M31, 32, 110, which are a trio, are all available relatively higher than more than halfway up the western sky in very early evening. An hour later, they're getting a little bit low. So you really want to get this timed right so you get them as early as you can see them. Don't worry about the ones in Cygnus over here or in Cepheus because they're kind of northerly and they're available at more times of the year. So if you're going to prioritize your targets tonight, the next couple of nights, set up early, get your telescope cooled down, and see if you can nab this set of 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So here, let me just give you some notes about each one here. So let's see. So M77 is pretty, it's a galaxy, so it's a little bit faint, but finding it is kind of easy if you can see the stars of Cetus and pick up the star Delta Ceti, because it's practically going to share the eyepiece view with Delta Cephei, or at least you can set your finder scope a little bit to the south of it, or a little bit to the west, to the east of it here. And in the telescope, you're going to look for a fuzzy patch that's got kind of 2 eyes, like almost a double star, and that'll be the galaxy. And when you're in the neighborhood, don't forget to look for this other galaxy up here. This is NGC 1055 in the same neighborhood. So that's a bonus. It's not a Messier, but it's a bonus target that you can look for. So that's that one. M74 is up here in Pisces, nicknamed the Phantom Galaxy. This is a pretty one. It's a face-on spiral, so it's lower surface brightness, so it's a bit fainter. It's going to be challenging to see it. But what you can do is you can look for the bright stars Hamal and Sheridan in Aries, and they kind of point down to it. So that's a way if you sort of, triple the distance between them, two more hops, you can find it that way. Or if you can see Etapiscium, the star Etapiscium, you can also use that as your guide. So those are those two. Then you've got the Triangulum Galaxy. In the Triangulum Galaxy, you can find a couple of different ways. If you use Hamal and Sheridan again and find the bright star Merak, it kind of sits halfway between them. Or you might want to use the Triangulum and just look to off the tip of the triangle. And M33 is a beautiful galaxy. Again, it's a little bit of a low brightness, but it's quite large in the telescope. So that's a great one to look for. And when you're there, if you've got really dark skies or a nice big telescope, look for the nebulas. So there's one here. Can you see this little pink patch? So that has its own separate NGC number, even though it's part of the Triangulum Galaxy. So you can actually look for that. Let's see. And then we get over here to the Andromeda Galaxy and its companions. So Andromeda Galaxy is binoculars or naked eye if your skies are dark. The trick is to also find the M110 and the M32. So these are sort of dwarf companion galaxies to it. You're kind of need a telescope to get these two to add to your list. But you want to get them, if you can, get them now. Otherwise, you're going to have to wait till the autumn. So those are some 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 messages you can quickly get under your belt this week. Yeah, and we've mentioned the nebula. So the nebulae that are in the winter sky, this is a good week to get those, this, as Samantha mentioned. The only one that I would add to this round is Messier 79, which is in Lepus. It's a globular cluster. And the reason it's important is that it's very southerly and it culminates around 9 o'clock. So it's highest in the southern sky around 9 p.m. But by the time we get to our next moonless period, a month from now, it'll be culminating when the sky is getting brighter. So you're better to try to get it now if you can. And it'll tolerate a bit of moonlight, so you doesn't have to be exactly the next couple days, but try it if you can. And obviously, you're going to look for kind of a round fuzz patch. I think that was all I had for those tips.
For the Andromeda galaxy, that one is also a part of Explore the Universe. So if you've already done that program, you can use your observations from there. And there's a number, I don't have it off the top of my head, of Messier objects in the Explore the Universe that you may have found before. So use those tips and tricks you've learned from them and share with other people. We have someone saying M79 is very small and faint. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what they were saying.
So I'm happy to take some more questions. Again, you see all kinds of other messages on the screen, but we'll get to them as we go. It's a marathon, not a sprint. I will, want to emphasize a couple more points that you'll see when you read the material that Samantha's put together. If you can find the Messier objects manually without go-to help, then you can earn the certificate that's designed for manual. It's kind of a feather in your cap if you can do it. But you're allowed to use go-to as long as you declare that you're using go-to, and then it's a different category of award, right?
Yeah. So we changed the wording on the certificate in that case of what you've used and how you've done it. And as I said, feather on your cap, you're going to get above and beyond like the requirements, which I'm sure Chris is familiar with, as he is a completionist on all of his certificates. So he gets the above and beyond often. And that's what we were talking about last week for that end of things. And so another note about the go-to is I don't want to say a recent change because our Messier catalog certificate's been around for a while. But if you notice anything that says you can't do go-to in the resources provided by the RASC Observing Committee, Blake's been very good at updating them. It's just because it's a historical thing. We've added go-to in recent years. We have a couple questions here about binoculars or telescopes. So the Messier catalog does require a telescope from my understanding, just because these binoculars wouldn't be able to resolve all these objects. Can you confirm that, Chris?
Yeah, especially the planetary nebulas. I don't think you'd have a hope of seeing. You might see that there's a particular dot there, but to properly, that part of the purpose here is to learn how to be an observational astronomer. So you're learning a few different skills. As Blake mentioned a couple of weeks ago, you're learning how to find the objects, either with star hopping or maybe you're using GoTo. But you're also learning to recognize the characteristics of the object and learning how to describe them. So you want to tell us, not me, but whoever's reviewing you, how you found it. Like, what stars did you hop between, or where did you put your finder scope, to zero in on them to find them? And then when you have found them, what did you notice about it? And it doesn't have to be a paragraph, but if you can write a few words about what it looked like to you, then it helps everybody to understand that you've had the right object and that you're noticing, what's unique about it. So binoculars, yeah, you can get. I think I've done a little card to go with the book. We haven't talked about the book, but
oh yeah, we're gonna get in that now.
The book is there. We're not here to, wasn't the purpose of this session, is to do that. But the book is a great resource for anybody that wants to tackle the Messier objects. John Reed invited me to help him with it last year. And I sort of made note that I think about 45 or 50 of the Messiers are binocular targets.
So in terms of why we're moving on to this telescope, there's not many more observing programs that are left that you can do without a telescope. And so if you're at the point where you've completed Explore the Universe and Explore the Moon, you're ready. You've done more observing than I have, and I own a telescope. I'm not going to say if you don't have the money, but dive in, start exploring the deeper sky that you can. A couple things about resources is, we'll start, as we said, the name of the book, and this is on the Messier's catalog website, not the Messier Marathon, Messier Minutes, but the Messier, the rasc observing. It's 110 things to see with a telescope. So this is the book that John and Chris wrote, and it goes through each of the objects with, oh, sorry, you can't see it that well, with finder charts, as well as a place to write your observations. And this was created to help you with, and Chris, you can add anything, with finishing all the Messier objects and finishing observing several observing certificates, including the rasc.
What we tried.
Sorry.
I was just going to say, what we tried to do is give you some tips for which stars to use to guide you to the right spot, and maybe one or two things to be on the lookout for, but not to kind of give it all away. We want you to find your own surprises.
So this is available on Amazon if you're looking for a comprehensive paper copy, and if you enjoyed the Moon one we recommended last time, same author plus Chris, well-known face. The other thing, I'm going to go a little bit more deeper, and this is to answer Claude's question about nebulas. Can we sort the nebulas available for viewing by constellation? We're going to talk about Messier specifically, and then if you're wondering about outside of that, you can clarify. And then logbook pages. So first of all, I will share what we have. So this is, we'll be producing this. You can get on the rasc.ca/Messier catalog, Messier objects. So this is the official rasc.ca website, observing certificate website, and has the 10 things to see with a telescope, as well as some other companions. And then it has observing forms to fill out. And so this has all of the Messier objects in order. And as you said, there's a big place to sketch. But we've talked about this multiple times. Try sketching. It's a really good way to show your observation to other people, to really think about what you're seeing. It is not a requirement for getting the certificate, but we strongly encourage it. And we have a big space there. And there's also space to label the orientation of your eyepiece. Then we also have on the Messier Minutes link is what we'll be doing is every episode, we're going to break down and create kind of a subsection of lists to view those 2 weeks. So if you're overwhelmed by the in all the resources and everything, just having a huge list, just focus on these for the next few nights. And most Messier lists, including in the RASC Observer's Handbook, which is another place that has the entire list of Messier objects. And if you know you're a RASC, you should have been getting the most recent one recently. It will list the NGC number of each Messier object, as well as the constellation, the short form of the constellation. So if you are looking for certain and the RASC handbook lists it by season. So that's how you can sort the objects by constellation. We have also tried to kind of, as I said, group. So as you notice, the early evening targets, I'm not sure if this will always be the case, they're all kind of in the same area of the sky. And then we have some zoom in views of each part. And then same thing. And then right after that early evening targets, we have separated out each observer's log pages. So you can just go through and be like, yep. And then we also, again, we've another area of the sky where we have the targets. They're kind of in general. So you can point up to look in that general area of the sky at the later evening targets. And then you can find these ones, as well as then I've included the logbooks pages for those specific things. You do not have to use these log pages, but they're a really good way to have all the information and know that you're not forgetting any information you need to get the certificate. So hopefully I answered any questions on that front.
Yeah.
Chris, do you have anything to add?
Well, you don't have to stay at the pace we're going. If you have a beautiful night, you're out for many hours and you want to just keep going. But, knowing that 2 weeks from now, we're going to have a full moon during our session, and we're going to have a special guest for the next 2 Insider's Guides, but we will devote a bit of time at the end for Messier Minutes. So the next 2 weeks, they'll have a full moon. So we're saving the bright Messier objects to cover then when the moon is around and it's not going to bother you. So we're trying to be logical about it.
Yeah, exactly. And it's kind of, our previous observing programs we've done, we make it so you can follow along and we look at the conditions like directly following, but that doesn't mean you can't use these instructions. It just may require some tweaking depending on what time you're looking, what the night sky is at the time. And that's where our Stellarium resources and episodes we did way back when, which you can watch, or planning your observing sessions are for. So any other comments? As we alluded to, we have a special guest for the next 2 episodes. Very exciting. This has been in the works for a while, so please stay tuned. And we also, in the end of March 29th, we're going to do an episode all about the Messier Marathon, and other Messier objects in general, which is a night that you can see, if you're really lucky, you're really good, see all the Messier objects in one night. So.
Perfect. That's great. Well, we are getting to that clear but cold time of the year. So hopefully people can get out and see some of these objects this week, and then clearer skies, better weather's coming. Tomorrow's Groundhog Day.
Yes, and happy Lunar New Year today, and happy Groundhog Days in advance. We hope we helped you with some of your observing and you learned something about nebulous today. I sure did. So thank you, Chris, very much.
Thank you, everybody, and keep looking up.